All right, Jack, can I get a drum roll, please? I don't know. Pretty good. We have a new guest coming on today. First ever solo interview on the podcast. He's a rookie. Probably see his name in the title. Maybe his face in the thumbnail. Exciting one. Good to hear from him, get to know him a little bit. Hear about what he thought of his rookie season last year. And looking forward to the future for him and his squad as they have high hopes. They have high hopes this year, Jack. Some rule changes in the league got them excited, and I think you can feel it in this interview.
Yeah, just stick around. Another banger.
Can I get a bangerang?
Bangerang.
This is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. We are back this week, another episode. Jack and I are your hosts tonight. No Kyle Schultz, as he is up in the lab editing away on this MLW Tour / Texas Rangers Tournament Experience video. So that is where the commish is. But joining us today is our special guest, Jeremy Adams, the rookie sensation of the Great Lakes Gators organization. Round of applause for Jeremy. Jeremy, I think this is your first ever exclusive interview, but not your first appearance on the show. Is that correct?
Yep, I was on in Vermont with the rest of the Gators in the hotel. That
was a fun pod. You recall that one, Jack? Were you on for that?
I don't think I was in that hotel.
I don't think you were either. I think you weren't in the room, neither was I, but they were all in Vermont, I want to say, in a hotel room, Jack, and then I just had them rotating through the chair that the laptop was in front of as I sat here and just kind of interviewed them one by one. I think you were out, one of the ones you missed last summer, one of the few you missed, Jack.
Some of those hotel informal outside of the typical studio podcasts, I feel like those end up being some of the best podcasts where it's like we don't really have much of an agenda going into it, and we kind of just see what the vibes are with whoever wants to come in and be on the show. I feel like those ones end up actually being pretty good.
I would agree that those tend to be the best. They're hard to pull off and execute, but it was always worth the effort of tearing down the entire studio and then trying to build a makeshift setup in a undersized hotel room. But Jeremy, thanks for joining us again. Glad to have you on. First question. We have a very well put together interview for you here this evening. Question number one is, are you a Pipe It Up podcast listener?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember exactly when, but I think I started watching almost every episode once they were on YouTube. So however long that's been.
Okay, so we're pushing 2 years then on YouTube. We're pushing 2 years on YouTube. That's pretty cool. Okay, so are you a
YouTube guy then? You watch it on YouTube?
Yeah, I think I've maybe listened to only one outside of YouTube.
So you're a podcast
awesome.
watcher, not much of a podcast listener.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what the podcast is about, but for this, it's YouTube only.
Okay.
That's a great question, by the way, Tommy. We're going to start asking that for every guest I think we have on. I don't know why we haven't done that before.
Well, I told you this is a well-prepared interview, so I came with the heat right away.
That's right.
Okay. Great first answer, Jeremy. Glad you are watching us. And hello to all the YouTube listeners that are also watching us. There's a smile for you. Question 2, Jeremy. You came into this league last year as a rookie, and I want to ask this question now because this is where everyone's attention's at. But your team had a very nice second half push there. Beat some great teams down the stretch, but were slower out of the gates, lost a few tough games, ended up missing the postseason. After hearing the news of how now 6 teams are making the postseason, 6 being from the entire field of teams and not just 3 from each division. Divisions are no longer, they've merged, we are 1, and the top 6 records will make it. How was that news received in the Gators clubhouse?
We were all pretty happy about it, mainly because not just about the fact that the top 6 made the playoffs, but more that we didn't have to face the Diamondbacks, Mallards, and Eagles every single year.
Okay.
Because those are 9 tough games, and they're not very fun to play against all in one season.
It's very fair. I guess that hasn't been talked about a whole lot, Jack. We talked about matchups, but not so much in terms of how one division might be a little bit tough to play regular season games against.
I mean, we alluded to it, and I think by and large, the Gators fans probably feel the most excited about this rule change. I think we probably touched on that on the last podcast.
Might have just poked it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we just poked it. I don't blame them at all. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to play Jimmy every single year, or Dallas every single year, or Jordan or Tommy every single year.
Me too, Jack. Give me get my name in that conversation.
Yeah, you like what I did?
I love that.
I did that.
See what you
Okay.
did there.
But yeah, so I think that's warranted. I wanted to ask about, actually, I think what really most people are tuning in to this podcast with you on for, and that is to tell us why you think you got snubbed for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, this is a hard-hitting one.
Honestly.
Okay, you said honestly. Now you have to be honest. You can't lie.
Yeah, you have to be honest now.
I'm not too mad about it. I feel like it's just giving me more motivation to do better next season. But Levi performed well in the playoffs, and I didn't even get a chance to perform in the playoffs. So I guess that gave him more time to show the viewers what he could do, I guess.
That was a really loaded question. I think you answered that pretty well. So you passed that one.
I'll give him an A-. I feel like, Jeremy, you were kind of cursed from the get-go. Your very first series, you almost hit a walk-off and you got robbed. What was that? How was day one at the Meadows for you? Like, what was the experience like versus what you thought it would be playing the Mallards in your first ever series?
It was interesting. It was kind of funny because, like, when I got there, everybody was, like, joking around. But then once the game actually started, everybody got, like, super serious, especially playing against Robles. He gets, like, super locked in right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely fun, and I still get flashbacks of Jordy robbing me.
Flashbacks. That was a tough one. I kind of felt for you there. You're a rookie. You're out there. You drove all this way. Big moment maybe in your first series and robbed. Just stolen from you. It was good for me, but it would have been a tough look for the Mallards to lose that series. But you guys played good. It just didn't really... I mean, do you think you were better than your record showed last year, honestly speaking, again?
I feel like in the second half, we were better than our record showed, but we got to a really slow start, so it was kind of tough to bounce back from 3-6, which is what we started at. So
it's true, especially in the NL.
Yeah,
that is what's just. I mean, I do love that aspect of MLW. Like, I really do, just because opening day comes around and everybody's excited to watch the game. It's been a while since we've got a YouTube video released, and then people don't often look back on some of those series at the beginning of the year and think about, like, how much they would have made a difference, for a team's
every
like postseason
counts,
dreams. And every game counts. And Jeremy, the comment that you made about everybody kind of like just joking around and being friends and then locking in, that's so true, because I think the guys that have been around in the league, for a while now understand that, like, opening day, man, it doesn't matter. Every single game here matters for sure. So that sort of like seriousness takes another step up in the playoffs. But I feel like every year it's like even the regular season series are getting like more and more serious. So I definitely agree with that.
I kind of figured that out the hard way, that every single game matters because it's just a 15-game season. So you got to make the most out of every game.
I love that. And I think, which it's kind of a false narrative, but the narrative in the MLB and the NBA, like, regular season doesn't matter. It's like blah, blah, blah. I don't want to tune into that. It's a waste of my time. Where you look at the NFL, you look at MLW, two Premier Leagues on nearly the same level, same viewership. Yeah. And
pretty close.
But every game does matter. And it may not feel like that when you're watching the week 2, week 3 games, but man, when you come down the wire and it comes time to, January in the NFL or August, September in MLW, it's like those are crucial games. And I try to tell it to my guys, Jack. I don't know if you do too, but like the wins are all the same, man. And if you can go out get off on the right foot and go 2-1 or 3-0 in your first series, it's like, man, your whole season just got so much easier. I don't want to say easier, but just you're not trying to run uphill,
No, 100%. No, there's nothing better than a fast start. I mean, coming out and winning a series or sweeping a series is like, you just feel like you're playing with house money at that point. You're like, that was, first series, who knows what to expect. People kind of haven't been, some people have been practicing, some haven't. But like to come back and win that first series, that's always huge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I hope the Gators get off to a better start this year for you, Jeremy. I don't know who you're playing yet in your first slate of games, but we'll talk a little bit about last season. I want to rewind just a tad here to talk to you about your VWL Flamingos days. I think a lot of viewers, listeners that are consuming this podcast in different forms of media are wondering what I just said when I said VWL Flamingos. Well, that was Jeremy's tournament team name in the MLW tournament circuit over the years, probably 2 to 3 years prior to him getting drafted, which they were a powerhouse. They won the UF U17 national championship at one point. They won other MLW tournaments. They beat, I believe you guys beat the Bay City guys at one point, didn't you? Like, which was Trey Flood, Landon, and that team.
Yeah, we beat them. I think we beat Carson, Preston, and Trey. So it was after Landon was too old for the 13 or 15, but we beat those three.
So they were a powerhouse, like staple of the Wiffle and the Mitten, as well as the Midwest Slugfest in Illinois, which I know the listeners of this podcast know those two events. Like Jeremy's team was the team to beat in that 13 to 15 division for a few years, and then they moved up to the 16 plus into the big leagues, and they're still very tough because Jeremy throws gas. But how did that group come together? Like, take me through it. How'd you guys find MLW and these tournaments, the team itself? Like, how'd you get the team name, and why'd you go with the Flamingos and the loud black and pink jerseys? Just everything. How did everything come together for you and your team?
So I've known all the rest of the guys in the Flamingos since like kindergarten. We all went to the same elementary school, middle school, and we still go to high school together. And for the Flamingos, I honestly don't remember how we came up with the Flamingos. I think we wanted to stand out kind of, and we liked the black and pink colorway. Mm-hmm. So Flamingos went well with that.
I do kind of like that, and there's no MLW team like that, so it's a standout team. There's a lot of neon, like neon green, neon yellow, neon pink, but a lot of them like try to clash those things together, whereas the black and pink was a little bit more clean, which is more my style.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember, I haven't had the chance to go to many MLW tournaments, but I have been to a few, and I remember always asking Kyle and Tommy when they came back from tournaments, who had the best jerseys, like what was the best team name. And I remember for a while the Flamingos was always like up there just because the uniforms were really clean, and yeah, they did stand out. I'll also say that for what it's worth, from a guy who knows absolutely nothing about wiffle ball, I would say Jeremy was like one of the first people I saw at a tournament, and I was like impressed to the point where I was like, that youngster could come up and play in our league. You know what I mean?
That young lad.
Like he, if he can make it happen, like wherever he's from or logistics, like yada yada, like he could definitely play in our league. And then a few years later, now here we are. So I wanted to ask, like, what the tournament game is a little bit different than what MLW plays from the rules and just, even the setup of the field a little bit. So I guess from your standpoint, both pitching and hitting, what were the things that were maybe hard to adjust to coming to MLW? And I guess vice versa, like some things that maybe you just felt like came easy or natural during that transition.
In my first series against the Mallards, I'd say the hardest thing was probably my hitting, because I never played in a league where the mound was 38 feet or any closer than that. So I kind of felt like Robos was just standing on top of me in my first couple AVs. I don't know how I got a hit in my first at bat, but yeah. And then the easier thing was definitely pitching, because I don't really throw that much harder than 72. Like I could probably get up to like low 80s, but like in tournaments, I'd probably be pitching like mid to high 70s anyway, so it wasn't too hard to adjust to the low 70s limit.
Jeremy, I feel you throw gas to tournaments. I don't know what you're talking about. I've definitely had to play you before, and you were just throwing absolute smoke fastballs.
Yeah, I was just rewatching, I think, the game that you're talking about a couple of days ago, and I found the clip of you swinging after it hit the zone.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. When did that happen? I don't recall. It must be buried in my memories. Dude, Jack, he was throwing 100 miles an hour. And there was just...
I would do that too.
There was just no shot.
I think he's being humbled too, because I definitely remember watching him at some of these tournaments going, that kid is just hucking.
I'm telling you right now, it's 90. 100% it's 90.
He's absolutely chucking.
Now, there wasn't like... You weren't throwing like sliders and risers and whatnot at that speed. You were kind of just throwing fastballs, but it was too fast. I was like seeing in bench warmers when I'm turning to the catcher, can tell him to slow it down. Like I couldn't catch up. It was, I probably embarrassed myself. What are the chances you know where that clip is of me swinging behind a pitch?
I have it in my camera roll. So
I watch it every morning.
Send that to Tommy, and then we'll send that to PB, and he'll put it in here.
All right.
Yeah. Send it my way. Well, I can embarrass myself. I still have my claim to fame though of hitting that home run in New York, jack off the kid who was throwing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I have a couple claim to fame moments. That was my most recent one. Was at the Long Island Whiffs tournament with Jason and who are my teammates in that tournament? Jason and Chris, maybe, I don't remember. But kid was throwing so hard, and I just closed my eyes and ripped one. A absolute nuke to win us the game. Jeremy, you didn't. I asked a very long-winded question that had like multiple layers to it. But back to the Flamingos thing. How'd you actually find out about MLW, and like what drove you to enroll in the tournament in the first place?
So I started my own league back in 2018, and that was because of you guys. Like I think I started watching you guys back in like 2016, and eventually I finally was able to get together like 8 of my friends. So we just had like 8 players in our first season, and we just played exactly how you guys did.
Where was your allegiance before it was with the Gators?
Oh, true. Good question, Jack.
I didn't really root for a team, but if I had to, I would always tell people either the Eagles or Mallards.
NL guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was just born to play in the NL.
So
too bad it's no longer.
What are guys? You watch them on camera for many years, from 2016 until 2024. Like, what are guys, for the people that don't know him personally or haven't met him, what are guys like Daniel Schultz, Dallas Allen, Tommy Coughlin's, your favorite players that you used to watch, Jordan Robles? What are they like in person versus like what you thought everything would be like when you're watching them in the videos?
I feel like when you're actually like talking to everybody, they're much more like chill and laid back, because on the videos you only see them playing, but like when you're actually there, like you get to like warm up with them and just like talk with them, and they're obviously all like different people, so it's cool to talk to them and learn more about them just outside of wiffle ball.
That's fair. Everybody's cool though. Nobody bullied you on your first game. I didn't shove you into a locker or anything on your first day.
Nope.
Good. I didn't shove him into a locker, guys. I didn't pay him to say that. I didn't pay him to say no.
It is funny. I feel like there's like a saying like, don't meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. Not saying
Jack,
that we're really anyone's
I don't know
heroes.
if I'm Jeremy's hero, but
not saying that. Well, you put yourself in the conversation of his favorite players, by the way. If you rewind the tape,
hey, at that time I was good when he was first watching.
If you rewind that tape, that's true. You were. But yeah, I do feel like MLW does a pretty good job of capturing who the people actually are. Like outside of maybe some of the guys that don't get a lot of screen time, and you kind of see them like once every, few at bats, and you just sort of make up in your mind what you think that guy's personality is based on his body language. But for the most part, like the managers, like the guys that get interviewed a lot, the guys who get like mic'd up and stuff, consistently, I feel like it is really, it's pretty close to like who the actual people are. Like it's not a lot of acting, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty genuine. And I think that is one recurring thing we've heard from rookies who have entered the league, that, we think we got a good thing going here with the people that are in the league, and that people are fun to be around. And everyone who's come into the league since has said like the same thing, right? Like that the people are just fun to hang out with, fun to be around. It's like relaxed yet competitive at the same time, like Jeremy mentioned.
Like anything good in life.
But,
I mean, if a good board game isn't relaxed but competitive, I don't want to play if everyone's sandbagging it. I want you to try to beat me. I want to bury you.
Yeah, what are we playing for then?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Got to play the games for something.
Speaking of guys in the league, I want to pick your brain, Jeremy, a little bit on the Gators cast here. So, I mean, even through this interview, I haven't had a lot of personal interactions with you outside of maybe some things at the tournament and crossing paths at a series maybe, but you seemed like a pretty reserved individual, I would describe. Not super out there in terms of personality as some of the guys in the league might be. So what is it like for you personally playing on a team with a guy that has social media posts of like 20 pictures in a row of him just like screaming his head off in Sawyer BN? Like what is it like being the guy that you are playing with a guy like that?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because like there's like clips of me hitting like singles or like getting a walk, and I'm just like walking down there, and then Sawyer comes all the way over there to like give me a high five. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" But it's fun because he always gets super hype, and that gets the team hyped up. Like against the Wildcats, I think when he hit his first home run, he just started screaming, and then that got all of us like hyped up for the rest of the series, I guess. So it can definitely be helpful.
A lot of screaming sometimes at the Meadows. Never from me, but from some people. From some people, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works for you guys. Like, I think you have some guys on your team that are a bit more reserved, and you know, to Sawyer's credit, if everybody's like that, sometimes it is hard to get the energy up, like for the big moments, and it's hard to keep picking each other up, like when things aren't going good. So to have a guy like get that excited over a walk, I'm sure at times you are probably like, man, it was just a walk, like chill out. and I'm sure there's other times where it's like, yeah, you know what, that was like a tough at bat, and it was cool to get hyped up by my teammates. So I could see it both ways.
Yeah, it's definitely good for us to have a guy like that on our team when the rest of us are quiet, because like you said, if we get down, like he's going to be the guy that can like hype us back up. So it's definitely nice to have.
I was gonna say, what about our boy Chris? How would you describe Chris's management style?
Definitely laid back. He definitely like opens up his options to see what the rest of us think. I feel like we work through it more as a team.
I don't know why I found that funny.
Yeah, we definitely work through it as a team, though.
I'm sorry. I do the same thing, so I don't know why I'm laughing at Chris. There's just something about the concept of that. Just what's his management style? He's like, yeah, I kind of just ask everybody else what he wants, what we should do.
Jeremy's answer was basically he doesn't manage.
Exactly.
He just lets everyone else make the decisions.
Kind of why I laughed.
I mean, he's keeping his guys happy. That's for sure.
It's true. It's true. I do the very similar thing, so I don't really know why I laughed just there, but just something about Chris, man, he cracks me up. I mean, I think I might have asked you this during the Vermont series, but it's, you know, the full season's passed now. Some time has passed. The other guys aren't in the room. They might hear this, but it's okay. We can be honest here. Like, how do you feel about where you landed? Like, are you happy to be with the Gators? Do you like your role on the squad compared to like what you might have envisioned playing in MLW being like? Just how do you feel about your landing spot and being with that squad moving into your second year?
Yeah, I love being on the Gators. I love all my teammates, and then it gives me like a chance to get a lot of playing time and be a second pitcher, which I might not have been able to do on some teams. And I feel like if we can pick up a good draft pick, we could definitely be a scary team next year.
I would agree with that. I'd agree with that statement. What do you think, Jack? We were all saying that the Gators were a team you didn't really want to play last year in the playoffs if you snuck in somehow. So I think you definitely put the league on notice. I'm not saying that you guys are like the team to beat by any means, but you're not a pushover team either. Like, I think people viewed the Gators in years past when Chris was talking about his trip to Cancun on the mic'd up before the season had even ended. So things have definitely changed, I think, in the Gators clubhouse and how the league views them for the time being.
I mean, I think if you're a Gators fan, there's never been a season you're more excited for. I mean, you've got one rookie of the year snub coming back. You've got an ace pitcher in Sawyer who can pretty much just take over a game if the ball's right and he's feeling right. And you got a manager who just delegates to everyone. So, there's really nothing to be worried about. I hope Chris is listening to this.
I think
so
he is.
Too. Seriously though, Chris, if you are listening to this, the Gators, if Chris, if Chris can have a season similar to one where, closer to when he kind of came into the league, where he was hitting really strong, hitting for power, and Jason has a season that we know Jason can have, that's a scary lineup. That's a scary lineup, and to pair that with could be maybe the best bullpen in the league, depending on how Sawyer does and obviously how Jeremy does. It's you gotta like the Gators' chances, I think, to make the playoffs with the new rules now. Not having those 9 games guaranteed against those 3, very stacked teams. I think it's looking very positive for the Gators. Again, I think if you're a fan, there's probably not been a season you've been more excited for than this one.
I think Jeremy and the Gators fan base would probably agree. Back to last season, you were not voted Rookie of the Year. Many people thought you were supposed to be, I shouldn't say supposed to be, but many people thought you did what you needed to do to earn Rookie of the Year. Levi caught the votes. He did great in the postseason, hit for power very well. But just in your eyes, how do you view your rookie season? Are you happy with how you played? Did it go better than you expected, worse than you expected? Just what are your thoughts?
I feel like it was pretty good. I feel like my average could have been better because it ended up being at just above 200, which I feel like I don't know. I definitely wasn't happy with that when I saw it, but I was kind of surprised when I saw that because I thought I hit a little bit better than that. But other than that, I think I had a pretty good rookie season.
It's tough to hit.
That might have been a direct at Mark. Jeremy was questioning his stat keeping.
Do we need to fact check this?
No, I'm kidding. It's deceiving. It's deceiving because it's like every hit feels like so much more, and you don't realize how many times you're just striking out or popping up in some case. By the way, we were talking about Jeremy getting robbed in the beginning of the year. I would have given anything to be robbed last year. Would have been.
I don't know. We were already down bad. Jack, imagine finally putting one
that
out there and then you get robbed. It'd be worse, I think.
If I got robbed in the first series of the year, I think my season would have looked a lot different. Just the confidence of putting a bat on a ball like that would have looked a lot different.
I agree. First series would be different, but I'm sure it was at least encouraging for Jeremy. I mean, you had a good day against the Mallards overall. I definitely realized that you were a threat immediately, and it didn't take, I don't think, Chris Cheatham, the delegator, too much time to realize that you belonged in the leadoff spot, in the lineup, pitching every series rather. So it's cool to see that, and I feel like there'll be some growth. Is there any areas in particular? You mentioned batting average, but are you wanting to get specific to try to improve one particular item of your game moving into this year?
I'm definitely trying to improve my pitching arsenal a little bit more because I really was in the Vermont series and in Slate 4 against the Wildcats. I was really just relying on 2 different pitches, just my screwball and then the slide drop thing that I throw. So I'm trying to add different pitches into the mix so I can keep hitters off balance and even changing speeds because I saw that was really effective for a lot of pitchers last year.
Could Sawyer teach you the drop ball?
No, he's tried to teach me it before, and I just can't throw it.
It's funny. I'm trying to think if anybody else throws it like Sawyer and I do. Jimmy has one.
There's really, yeah.
Jimmy throws
there's really. I was gonna say there's only 2 people in the history of this league that can throw that specific drop ball.
Nah, Jimmy's is different. Even Dallas's banana ball is kind of the same principle. I mean, Jimmy's is different.
No, it's not at all.
Yes, it is.
It's not at all.
It looks different to you, Jack, but the principle of it's kind of the same.
It's a totally different pitch. The Sawyer's and your. I don't even know what you call it.
We've been calling Sawyer's the super drop. The
super drop, it's more of It has when he's on, and when back in the day when TC3 was ripping on the mound, that thing had some screw to it.
It does have a little screw action on it. You can get a little
it
screwy.
Screws back in, which is not really Dallas's banana ball is not it doesn't have that screw action, and Jimmy's drop ball also at times might have a little bit, but not nearly as much and not as violent or as late.
Okay. That's a nice compliment to me, myself of my past, I suppose. I can appreciate that. But Jeremy,
back in the day.
Jeremy, maybe you got to just hit the lab and figure it out. I don't know. I could show you a few things. I was once just so good at this game, and just, how times have changed. Laughing at my own pain.
Yeah, that's pretty much what this podcast is turning into now. Every week is just Tommy and I making jokes about what once was. But
it's the only way to get through this thing, man. I tell you what.
Yeah, it really is. You just got to grind it out. I wish I was in a situation like Jeremy where I got my second season looking ahead after coming off a hot one. But Jeremy, I think that's a wrap for the interview. Appreciate you coming on, man. It was a pleasure having you on. We'll have you on again, probably at some point this year. Hopefully you're having a great year, and we'll have a lot to talk about. So appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on. It was an honor.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Jeremy. We appreciate you saying that. Good luck tonight in your your intramural basketball championship at school. We wish you the best of luck, and let us know if you bring it home.
All right, will do.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. We'll see you.
See ya.
All right, Jeremy Adams.
And then there were two. Jack sips his coffee. I'll take a sip of my water here. Not drinking coffee. It's
okay. Sure, it's 8 p.m.
At night.
My bad. You're drinking out of a mug, so
I have done that though. This would be tea.
A tea.
Echinacea tea.
Look at you, Mr. Healthy. Oh, speaking of healthy, Jack, can I give you a little personal announcement here?
Oh, please.
And I should say this because it needs to be on record. Then I'll hold myself to it. But, I'd consider myself to be a pretty in-shape guy. I'd say I'm in the upper percentile of, physical build. I'm not, like, jacked by any means, but I'm not skinny either. I feel like I'm a healthy weight, all that kind of stuff. But I do feel like I've, just like Alec mentioned how Jack, on your podcast with him, he likes to have a goal or something to work towards. I feel like I've been doing a lot of the same stuff for many years, and I'm not bored of it, but I just I don't know, I want something new. I want to try something different, challenge myself some other way outside of just my normal job that's always challenging, but just a different thing. So I think starting March 1st, Jack, I'm going to try to do a 60-day dial-in and have zero cheat foods at all except for Easter. It's my one cheat day. But I want to see if I notice a physical change in myself if I actually track my macros of my diet and see if it actually makes a difference, because I'm curious and yeah. So
what are you qualifying as a cheat food though?
Pretty much anything that would take me away from my goal of the amount of protein, fat, carbs, and calories that I want to get in a day, I would consider a cheat food.
Oh, I see. So you're specifically gonna set goals of all those different metrics and you got to hit them basically.
Correct. And I also, speaking of cheat foods though, I don't want to eat anything that's, of course it'll probably happen because of work or I'll be traveling or something, but when I'm home, so when I'm traveling or whatever, I will still stick to the same goals somehow. I'll figure it out. But when I'm home, I also don't want to eat anything out of a bag, no chips, nothing from the freezer that I make, no snacks like that, everything kind of relatively fresh and healthy. Just a little 60-day diet challenge, because I'm just curious. I've always ate pretty clean, but I'm just curious if I really dialed in, would I actually look and feel any different if I was the strictest you could possibly be on yourself, or would I kind of look and feel the same?
I think you will find that you feel totally different. If you're really sticking to it, you'll feel different. I mean, I talked before, last year, on doing a diet, just cutting out sugar. Mm-hmm. And that was more strict than just saying like, I'm not going to eat I'm not going to eat my M&Ms.
Yes.
Like it was more strict in that, things that your body processes similar to sugar we were also cutting out. So very like low carb diet. The only sugars really that I was eating was through like fruit, like low sugar fruit. So even specific fruits I wasn't eating. And
I'm assuming a very ripe banana you were not eating.
Not eating bananas, no. Not eating bananas. It was mostly berries, honestly, like blueberries and raspberries, but huge change. I mean, within a week or two. And huge change, like weight loss, sleeping, energy. I was also kind of at the same time, I went off sort of a caffeine like detox, I guess. So I wasn't drinking caffeine, and I was drinking mud water, like mushroom water instead. And so I wasn't getting the classic 1 p.m. like I just ate my lunch. I'm super tired now. Like I'm going to make like another coffee or something. I just didn't get that. Like I never got that. And it was crazy because you
not that you didn't have the coffee, you just didn't feel tired. Period. So you didn't even need it.
You just didn't feel tired. I didn't feel tired, so I didn't need it. And I think it'll be really eye opening for you. I think if you're really paying attention to how you feel, you'll probably notice a lot. And it's pretty cool to see how quickly your body like adapts to that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, I already eat like pretty clean, like probably better than most people do. But again, it's like going that extra mile to like really see if I were to feel different, if I were to look different. Like, I don't know. I just again, kind of like Alex said, I just feel like fitness wise, I'm not bored. But I've just been doing the very monotonous routine for years, and it's worked. Like I'm very thankful that like I'm pretty healthy right now. I look all right, all that kind of stuff. But I just want to push myself a little bit to see what I can do. Food's definitely been my Achilles heel. I don't cheat often. When I cheat, I tend to cheat hard. Example, Jack. Oh, Jack, you got to hear this. Folks at home, you got to hear this too. Are you aware, Jack, that Post Malone recently launched an Oreo? Like he has a collab with Oreo with his own flavor?
No, I'm not aware.
Jack, this Oreo is one of the most spectacular out-of-box cookies, cheap, that I have ever tasted in my entire life.
What is the flavor?
Oh, it's so aromatic, you could make a candle out of it, I swear to you. So I believe, let me just describe the cookie to you. The flavor is some long name, but it has a golden top and a chocolate regular bottom, right? So you have a golden Oreo top, chocolate bottom. Okay, you following? Cream in the middle. And then, but the cream is not the white normal Oreo cream. It is a shortbread and vanilla cream swirl. So it's a multicolored cream. It's like a caramel color and then like a brownish color. And when I say it's better, I mean, I love Oreos. I really do. This is better than the normal Oreo. Like this needs to be a permanent mainstay. And I want people to sound off in the comment section if they had the Post Malone Oreo yet, because it's tremendous. It's absolutely spectacular. Well done, Post Malone and Oreo team. But example of how I cheat. When I cheat hard. Like, so I was like, I want to try one of these. I'm a fan of Post Malone. I like Oreos. Sure, I'm in. I'm sold.
Full sleeve.
Yeah, I'm sold. Just destroyed about 10 of these things. Felt terrible. I felt terrible. So within this diet, that would not be allowed. No Oreos would be allowed. That's like an unwrapping a package, processed food. No, that's not allowed in the 60-day challenge here. Except for Easter. All bets are off on Easter Sunday. That's the one cheat day.
Dude, the Oreos they're so easy to just.
Oreos are spectacular.
It can escalate so quickly, like where it just gets out of hand, and you're like, that was a full sleeve, and I could eat 5 more, like no problem. You know, they go down so easy. Like especially if you're like dunking them in milk or something. Like dude, they just go down. It's a great cookie. You gotta just recognize greatness.
It's
a great
tremendous.
cookie.
It's absolutely tremendous. And Jack, I'm telling you, this is better than the normal Oreo. Like the normal Oreo could go away and it could be Post Malone Oreos only forever, and I wouldn't be bummed out at all. I would never miss.
I mean, I would never miss the normal Oreo. I'm obligated now to try it and post a review on Pipe It Up's Instagram now, so I have to do that now.
That's the problem, though, is because now you're going to have to buy a whole box, right? And you're stuck with the whole box.
Well, I mean,
you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah, bummer. I'll have to buy a whole box.
No, well, you're going to have the same problem that I did. You're going to have the exact same. And I was so mad.
I'm not on the diet right now, though. I'm not on the diet, so.
I left them out for my roommates, too, and as soon as we finished the first box, next day I came into the house, there was another box sitting there, and I'm like, guys, we cannot be doing this.
Brutal.
Cannot be doing this right now. So, yeah, I'm going to do a little dial and see how I can feel and look any different. I don't know if I'm comfortable doing this, but maybe just for the pod squad. This is an intimate crew. Do I dare do like a before and after photo, Jack, or is that too far? To see if I look any different? We could always take them and then decide if it's worth sharing or not.
Yeah, let's take them. Let's take them and decide. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll look the exact same. I'm mostly just curious because, like, you don't want to compare yourself to other people on the internet and Instagram and stuff. Like, I see so much fitness content on Instagram, whether it's like meal preps and food or like different lifts and stuff. And some people are just so lean. And I'm like, I don't know if I could physically get that lean, like genetically. So I'm kind of just curious about that. It's kind of why I want to do this.
Yeah. It's the sugar, I'm telling you. If you cut that out, you'll get lean.
We'll see.
You'll get like I did not think I could get that light of weight. I hadn't been, I wasn't at that weight since like I was in high school, like before high school.
Yeah. So stay tuned, Pod Squad. And if you want to do a little diet yourself or a little, workout program challenge, March 1st, I'm gonna go for it. I'm committing to 2 months, 60 days, 2 months. I'm gonna hold myself to it, and you guys need to keep me accountable the whole way, every step of the way. I need the Pod Squad.
Spectacular.
And speaking of Pod Squad, Jack, I have a very fun update if I can share it with you. So
please.
Thank you to Commissioner for pointing this out in the DMs. I almost glossed over it. But Jack, we got a DM this week from, I need to check his name to verify, Matt Offrey. Matt Offrey, if you're listening to this, thank you for this message. But Jack, remember how we had talked about, like, you were curious on the numbies for viewers per team? You hadn't had that graphic in a while?
Yes.
Matt Offrey did some research for us.
Here we go.
So you want it?
Do I want it?
Do you want to hear the numbies?
I'm asking you, do I want to hear the numbies for the sake of the magic?
Oh, yeah, I think you do.
Okay, let me hear them.
It's actually going to be very interesting for you, Jack. 2024 average views per team. Diamondbacks led the way with 136,000 average viewers per video. Diamondbacks number 1. This is 2024. Below them, it was Gators. Then the Magic at number 3. Magic were 113,000 per video.
Okay.
Wildcats, Eagles, Mallards, Preds, Cobras in last place. That was the average views per team. I guess I don't exactly know. Sounds like it's regular season and postseason videos combined. That were the averages there. 2023, little different, Jack. The Mallards at number 1 with 323.
What?
Yeah, Mallards at 1 with 323,000. Then, just wait, Jack. Predators, Cobras, Wildcats, Diamondbacks, Eagles, Magic, Gators.
What?
Magic down. Well, again, because, Jack, you got to think about how these numbers are calculated. I don't know exactly how Matt did this.
Well, first of all, the stat, I'm pretty sure the graphic that Kyle always put out was not average. It was total. And that's what I was looking for, which is totally different now.
It is totally different. You're right. Matt, we appreciate the work. We don't expect you to go out of your way now to get totals as well. But let's talk about
But if you
numbers.
had some free time.
No, Matt, you don't have to do that. But
No, I'm just kidding.
reason, Jack, think about it. Your World Series
I'm joking.
I'm joking. Your World Series had 5 games, Jack. And those 5-game series, a lot of times, like, you'll have a huge game 1 and like a big game 5, maybe, but in between, like, a lot of times only the core fans remain when it's back into October, November, you know? So that'll drop your average off. Last year, I think, I'm trying to think, 2023, did you have the St. Louis series there?
Yes.
So that was probably a big boost for you. But outside of that, you probably were in some tough slots. No other out-of-state series. No opening day. You know, things like that make a difference. Last year you were in opening day, and you were also in one more out-of-state event, and it was the Chicago series. Both did pretty well. So that'll juice your average numbies. And you weren't in all those extra playoff series, so then maybe make your numbers fall off, you know?
Fair.
So...
yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a skewed statistic.
It's a skewed statistic. Every statistic has, you got to digest what the numbers really mean, Jack.
That's right.
Because look at this one. In 2023, out of 8 teams, 6 and 7 were Eagles and Magic. Excuse me. Those were your 2 World Series place teams. 2024, the 5 and 7 spot, Eagles and Preds. Those were your 2 World Series teams. So,
if
we're talking about averages, those additional videos might not help you. Talking about totals, well, definitely going to help you.
Yep. I'm looking for totals.
Well, it doesn't need to be Matt. Anybody could get that number for us and crunch them. Jack and I could also do it ourselves, but probably won't.
Not going to do it.
Why would we do that?
I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to claim that the Magic would do well on that graphic until someone proves otherwise.
That's very fair to say. I love that attitude. And I have more news, Jack, about the podcast, too, that I want to share with everybody. Those who stuck around here. News. So, I sent out some messages this week. Number 1, we wanted Drew Davis, right? No offense to Jeremy. Wanted Drew Davis on to comment on the rule change. We heard the Gators' perspective, which we knew would be thumbs up. To get Drew's thumbs down, it sounds like, Jack, he'll be available next week's podcast, which it sounds like you might not join us for, though, unfortunately.
I think I'm going to have to miss this one, guys, unfortunately.
Jack's going to have to sit this next one out, but we can get Drew on, Jack, so you have to send me some questions, what you want to ask him. I know you always send some fire when you miss. I feel like some of your best and spiciest questions are when the ones you are not on, and then you send me questions beforehand.
It's much easier to ask it through someone else.
Through a messenger.
Yeah. When we know, too, who we're having on, it's easier to... prepare a little bit more, like further in advance, right? A lot of times it just works out where we don't find out who we're having on until maybe a couple days before. So
So Drew Davis gave us a verbal commitment. We'll see if he holds true to that. Don't hold us to that. It's a verbal commitment at this time. He hasn't signed any papers. I also sent a text to the infamous Greg Kratz, Jack, and he has expressed interest in coming on the show. So
he has. Okay. Well, whenever that one is, I need to be around for that one.
I would agree. So he's kind of said, like, give me a time, give me a date. I haven't given him any hard commitments yet, but maybe, 2-3 weeks from now, we get on Greg, and then we try to pitch the Mark and Greg tandem episode.
I love it.
But I do want to give Greg his time to shine and have him on solo. I think that's worth it for Greg.
Yeah. No, I totally think that's fair. I think he deserves that.
So we got some exciting things in the pipeline, and I'm just looking forward to kind of rounding out the off season here. Also, Jack, I've been doing some managing. I've been making some calls.
Yep.
I know you called me finally.
How about that call?
How about that call? Finally, Jack did call me.
I did call you.
I don't know. I don't know if we got much business.
Speaking of which, you owe me a call back. Is that
what I said? I call you?
Yeah, you're supposed to call me back.
Well, I can't say everyone I talk to, it'll give some things away, but for my roster, I've spoken with Matt, I've spoken with Jorgie, I've spoken with Preston, I've exchanged some text messages with Davenport. I haven't called him on the phone yet. I still got it. Robles is the last guy I got to contact, so I got to chat with him. I've spoken to a few other players around the league. I've been sniffing around, getting my nose out there a little bit, seeing how everyone's feeling. Me and Jack entertained a few things, so I think I'm gonna conservatively say that. The commission's sitting here. You can give me a head shake up or down, but I'd say before March ends, you'll hear some sort of MLW news about just like players moving around. before the end of March. Okay, he said, yeah. That was his quote. That was the quote from the commissioner.
Okay.
PB graphic.
I like that.
Yeah. Dash Kyle Schultz on whether or not we'll hear any trade news before the end of March. Put that on the graphic.
That's great. Quote that.
Quote it up.
I can tell you guys I have proof that I have contacted every manager this offseason outside of Daniel Schultz. That's about it.
You want nothing to do with that guy, huh?
I just know where Dan stands.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I haven't done quite that, but again, I had some things come across my desk that I took a look at, gave him the old sniff test, and asked around a little bit, see how everyone was feeling. So, yeah, I'm excited. Trying to take a few tricks from what I've learned in the past about what worked, what didn't work, where we need to improve on. Looking at the draft class, I've been talking to Kyle about where he thinks guys are landing and what will be available to me at my spot. So I've been trying to manage and put together a roster that will contend for a championship and win a championship ultimately. So Mallard Nation, just know we're making it happen out here. Making it happen. Well, Jack, you're making all these calls. Like, are you do you have things kind of like in writing if you are making any moves? You can just say I'm happy with where I stand, or there's still work to be done. I don't want you to give anything away, but where do you stand?
I don't stand anywhere. There's nothing in writing. Okay. Nothing is set in stone yet. There's a lot of ideas being thrown around.
So you've done a lot of sniffing.
Crazy ideas.
A lot of sniffing.
Some insane ideas being thrown around.
We exchanged some insane ideas,
but nothing set in stone. Huh?
I said you and I exchanged some crazy ideas.
Yeah, we did. There was some wild ideas, but nothing set in stone yet. So I'm not going to promise anything. But it'll be exciting. I'm really excited to just get the draft going, get some see some movement happen in the league, and every day we're just getting closer and closer to the season. So I'm excited.
Jack, the next podcast will come out in March, which is kind of nuts. This is the last February pod. When I think March, I think spring. I think basketball, and I think spring, and I'm getting excited. Good times. Gotta love March Madness. I gotta figure out a way that I can watch basketball on Thursday and Friday without my boss yelling at me. Anyways, folks, appreciate you tuning in. That's kind of it from my chair, Jack. Do you have anything else you wanted to share? Definitely more news on the horizon, exciting guests coming. And I'm just getting comfortable in this red chair here, just talking to the abyss. I know the listeners are out there listening. I can't always hear them, but I know they're out there.
Yeah, nothing from me. This was a fun episode. More news to come.
More news to come. Well, thank you, Jeremy Adams, for joining us. It was a pleasure having him on for his first solo interview on Pipe It Up. It was a pleasure. And hoping to see more of Jeremy out there this year for the Gators, putting together a solid sophomore campaign. Jack and I will look to put together a solid, year 12 and year 8 campaigns ourselves, and we'll give you everything we got. We can promise you all that. So we'll see you all next Wednesday, and thanks for tuning in. Pipe it up.